What's going on, guys? It's your boy, Matty Bueller, Buell School, here to talk to you about this situation with the pipeline and what's going on with the pipeline and these hackers. And the hackers are taking money out of the pockets of American citizens, raising the gas prices. They've been attacking the meat markets, and it sounds a little bit fishy to anybody who understands the blockchain technology and understands the way that cryptocurrencies really work. There's been a lot of controversy surrounding this. There's been a lot of speculation as to what actually happened, and it seems like there may be something going on here. So we just want to talk about this, understand what's really happening, and understand why people are a little bit skeptical about the actualities of these stories. So here we go with Bitcoinist. This is an article that they wrote today. And let's see what they say. Reports have emerged that hackers were paid $11 million in Bitcoin following an attack on JBS USA Holdings, a meatpacking firm that supplies 1/5 of the country's meat. Following the recent Colonial Pipeline hack debacle, which raised doubts on the story's legitimacy, observers are watching this latest cyber attack with wariness. So, for those of you that don't know, there was a pipeline. This big firm was hacked, and there was a ransom that was asked and demanded of the powers that be, and they were looking for an exorbitant amount of money paid in Bitcoin to go to their wallets and for them to be able to retire and live in the lap of luxury. I think it was a group called what are they called? Hold on, it says it's. Hold on. Well, whoever the heck they were, it was a group. It was a branch of Anonymous. So basically, what ended up happening was this attack. This attack happened. The money was paid. The ransom was paid, and then the FBI swooped in, and they were able to recover these funds. And they were able to recover a portion of these funds from a custodial account that apparently was just left wide open for the government to come in and seize. Sounds a little bit fishy. I don't know about you guys, but I've done my reading, I've done my research. I know Bitcoin, I know blockchain technology, and I know that is not a normal occurrence. That's not something that generally happens. So let's keep going. Analysts say that the JBS attack is part of a new offensive targeting essential service providers, including hospitals, transport operators, and oil refineries. Previously, hackers tended to focus on data-rich operations such as retailers and banks. The JBS CEO, Andre Nogueira, said that he first became aware of the attack early morning Sunday, May 30th. Staff informed him of irregularities with the company servers, and further investigation turned up a message demanding a ransom payment to regain control of systems. Nogueira contacted the FBI and ordered system shutdowns to slow the spread of attacks. Forensic analysis failed to show how the hackers managed to find their way in, but the FBI has pinned the attack on a hacker group known as Revel. So what this appears to be, especially with the resolution coming so fast and swiftly from the government, is it appears to be a government conspiracy or a targeted attack at the legitimacy of Bitcoin. And as most of you know, these attacks have come. The FUD has always been prevalent in this community, and people have always been looking for a way to try and delegitimize Bitcoin as a proper asset. This seems like a government attack to do that very same thing. The idea or the notion that somebody who is sophisticated enough to hack not only a pipeline, a company that provides pipelines to one of the largest markets in the world, or one of the largest meatpacking companies or entities in the United States, is able to get hacked, and these very same people would then turn around and put their money into an exchange, doesn't seem feasible. That seems like a boneheaded mistake. That's like Bill Gates leave. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Feasibly, it doesn't make sense. Why would you be able to have the capacity to be able to pull off a multi-million-dollar heist and then leave yourself exposed in that way. If you're going to be paid in Bitcoin, I assume that you know the way that Bitcoin works, and if you really wanted to defend yourself, you would have your private keys. Now, this story has changed over time, and we can look at this in multiple ways. There's the possibility that the reporters who initially wrote the report didn't understand what they were talking about, and a lot of this stuff is a little bit more advanced than your average Joe has the capability of understanding. So maybe they don't understand blockchain technology. Maybe there was a mix-up with the verbiage, and that resulted in a miscalculation in what was printed in the papers. But that aside, it just seems like there's a lot of inaccuracies in the way that these stories are reported and in the facts of these stories. Your private key, as you probably are well aware, is your private key, and you keep that safe. You keep that safer than anything else that you have, especially if you have $11 million worth of currency. You could waterboard me. You could stick me in a tank full of sharks, and I'm not going to tell you my private key. And I keep my private keys in a safe space that's not easily hackable. And I'm not a novice, but I'm not the most sophisticated Bitcoin investor known to man. That being said, I think that these guys probably are a little bit more sophisticated than the average investor and the average hodler. So they should know that keeping your private key in a place that can be seized or seized by the government is not the smartest idea in the world. It's downright stupid. So that just right there doesn't make sense to me. Let's keep going. Consultants overseeing the recovery cautioned Nogueira that the hackers may still have access. They recommended continuing negotiations. Nogueira said he authorized the ransom payment in Bitcoin to protect his firm from further disruption and minimize the impact along the supply chain. Fair, valid. JBS wasn't the only high-profile cyber attack in recent weeks. The Colonial Pipeline hack, which occurred in late April, was responsible for disrupting fuel supplies across the East Coast. Since then, the FBI claims to have recovered most of the 75 Bitcoin, 4.4 million, ransom paid to the Darkside hacker group. That's their name, the Darkside. However, a lack of details surrounding the case in general and oddities in the story have led to talk of conspiracy. Yeah, it straight up doesn't make sense. There's a lot of gray area in this story that either seems like liberties taken by the reporters or inaccuracies. And you know that the government, this wouldn't be the first time that the government tried to sabotage an entity that they didn't necessarily have complete control of. They've done this for as long as there has been an American government. If they don't have complete control over the commerce of any particular asset class, they will try and sabotage it. Take a look at alcohol during Prohibition. The government was saying that alcohol was a leading cause in some, I forget what it was, but some sort of disease. And this was a story that was spread all throughout the USA. This was the biggest story. Alcohol kills. Alcohol is the worst thing in the world. Alcohol will cause retardation, which But the story was blown out of proportion, and it was a heavily targeted attack on alcohol manufacturers in the United States. Lo and behold, later on, the government said, "Hey, sorry, we were wrong." But oddly enough, after they continued taxing us for the alcohol that we were consuming, and the money returned to the government, all of a sudden it wasn't as big as a problem. Same thing with marijuana. Marijuana was a huge problem to the government because they couldn't figure out a way to tax it. And back in the 1930s, the stories that were being floated around were that marijuana was coming in straight from Mexico, caused schizophrenia, and caused criminal activity. The whole gateway drug thing, that movie that they made about pot and how horrible it is for the kids. That was all targeted attacks. Those were all sabotage attacks in a similar fashion to what's happening here, I believe, with Bitcoin. It just doesn't make sense. And when the government finds a way to tax these entities, all of a sudden it's not as bad. Now it's better for you. And a glass of wine a day stops brain cancer because we're collecting tax on it. Or medical marijuana. Oh, look at us now. Now we have medical marijuana. And maybe the Mexicans aren't bringing it in. If we're growing it and we're charging you for it, fine. Yeah, it's all good and well. But if the Mexicans are bringing it in, it causes schizophrenia. I mean, there's a million and a half of these things. I mean, I think for a while they were saying that black men were treated for syphilis and were running rampant with syphilis. This was back in the 20s, and this was a huge thing. Everybody thought that all black men had syphilis, and there were studies. These scientists were coming out with these studies. It's the same kind of shit where it's just FUD. It's the government trying to stop the masses from investing in Bitcoin and trying to create a fear or panic in Bitcoin. So if you think your Bitcoin is going to get hacked, you're probably less likely to invest in it, especially if you came into this space with the idea that this was an entity that couldn't be hacked. This was something that was safe and secure and decentralized. And your money in your wallet or your cold storage wallet was safe. They're trying to dispel that. Don't let them dispel you. This is all bullshit. I mean, I don't even really have to go too deep into this article for most people. I think most people will understand that this is bullshit because there's so many anomalies here that straight up don't make sense. Do your own research. Take a look into it. I'm sure other people are talking about it. But every time I read one of these articles, it pisses me off because it's just not true. Like there's never been a hack on the blockchain, period. It hasn't happened. The only way that you can hack the blockchain is with technology that hasn't been invented yet. You would need a quantum computer to hack the blockchain. And that technology, the technology that it would take to do that is still 10 years out. Like we don't have it yet. There's no single man, there's no group of men that are able to compute fast enough to be able to do this. So the FBI, as always, the U.S. government, as always, I'm sorry to say, is full of shit. And I don't know if they paid the money and were embarrassed and want to try and thwart further attempts to try and collect on ransom for attacks like this, or if they created this story out of the blue to just try and come up with this Superman story that they came in and saved the day. Whatever the case may be, it's bullshit. You know it's bullshit. I know it's bullshit. I'm Buell School. Like and subscribe. And don't listen to these jerks. I'm out.